When you think of a baseball player, I bet you think of a certain type of player, whether it be a guy who only hits home runs or a guy who loves making contact. You probably have your preferences, and I have my own preferences as well. But today I thought it would be fun to talk about 10 different types of MLB hitters. All contact, no power. This player doesn't care about anything other than making contact. If they don't hit the ball hard, they don't really care as long as they aren't swinging and missing. They aren't gonna homer much at all, but they aren't gonna strike out either. They probably have multiple different swings and approaches, especially a different one when it gets to 2 strikes. They'll make sure to choke up, shorten up the swing, and make sure that they make contact no matter what. They're probably undervalued by MLB teams and fans, and that's because they're not getting a ton of RBIs, but they are scoring a lot of runs. There's also a good chance that they don't walk very often either. They just swing a lot and they only hit singles. Positionally, they're probably either a second baseman, shortstop, or center fielder. Normally it's not one of the other positions. Players that come to my mind when I think about this type of player are Luis Arraez or Pete Rose, guys like that. The defensive king. These hitters don't really care about hitting. Their main asset is just an insane defensive ability, and they make sure to show that off by making diving catches, throwing guys out from the outfield, and doing whatever it takes to win the game on the defensive side of the ball. Most likely they're going to be playing up the middle. They're gonna either be a catcher, a shortstop, second baseman, or a center fielder. These positions are less important for hitters and just more important for fielders because there's more plays and opportunities going to those positions. They will continue to get opportunities in MLB even if they are just the worst hitter possible, because the defense is that good and it makes them extremely valuable. They probably drive fans insane because they just never get the big hit. For a player like this, I'm thinking of Austin Hedges or Andrelton Simmons or Kevin Kiermaier, someone along those lines. Chicks dig the long ball. These are the power sluggers. You know exactly who I'm talking about. They are not afraid to strike out, they're not afraid to swing and miss, but when they make contact, they hit the ball well and it goes very far. They probably also have a very good eye, and their ability to stay within the strike zone is solid, but still, they're striking out all the time because all they really care about is hitting a mammoth home run. And honestly, sometimes you gotta respect it. Guys I'm thinking of are Joey Gallo and Elly de la Cruz. It's not their only asset, but in terms of hitters, they don't really care about striking out. They just want to hit a long ball. The subscribers. People that click the subscribe button on this channel and then reap the benefits of not having to find my content in the future and it just popping up in your sub box instead. They're awesome people. The veteran on a massive contract. These players are always a regretful signing. You know exactly who I'm thinking of when I say a player like that. By this point, they're a shell of their former selves, and they've become either league average or below league average offensively, and maybe even defensively. However, since the contracts are so big, they just continue to get playing time because the teams don't want to eat that dead money. Fans go crazy waiting for a young prospect to come up and replace the bad veteran, but it takes way too long and they just continue to get restless. These players also consistently end up being injured. It's just how it goes with these massive contract veterans. A few guys that I'm thinking of for this one are Chris Bryant and Trevor Story. Unfortunately, they've had great careers, but with their new teams, they're struggling. Barry Bonds. Bonds is the greatest hitter in the history of Major League Baseball, and there are players that are somewhat similar to him today, and there have been throughout the history of Major League Baseball. These players not only homer, but they're also gonna walk and they're gonna get on base, and sometimes they'll strike out a lot, but probably less than the Joey Gallos. You can feel the terror of the opposing manager when these players step into the box. They're the player that you circle in the lineup, praying that they don't come up in a big spot, because if they do, you know you're in trouble. You pitch around them and they still somehow hit a home run, and it drives you insane. If you hang them a breaking ball, you know it's going to be deposited into the seats every single time. They're the first ballot Hall of Fame talent guys, and you know who I'm talking about in present day baseball. Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, they're the Barry Bonds type. The speedsters. These guys aren't necessarily only good at hitting singles, but a lot of the time that is just their game. Players like Jarren Duran, Bobby Witt Jr., and Corbin Carroll aren't just singles hitters, but their speed causes problems on the base paths. These players simply cause chaos. They steal bases, they take the extra base, they tag up on a shallow fly ball that you might not expect them to, and overall they just rush the defense and make them panic, and that'll lead to more errors and more sloppy plays. They're probably the most fun player to watch on the entire team, and because of that, they're one of the most fan favorite players on the team. And they're most likely the players that the coach will say, be more like them to the rest of the team, because they have so much effort at all times. These players are going to make sure that you know that they are fast, and that they can beat you with their legs. They're proud of their speed and they continuously show it off, whether it be running to first base, stealing a base, or scoring on a fly ball. They're gonna show off their speed because they want to. Again, guys I think of here, someone like Corbin Carroll, or someone maybe a little bit even less known in Chandler Simpson, who's just the fastest player in the league. The 4A player. These players are not good enough for MLB, but they are way too good for AAA. They keep bouncing back and forth, dominating the minor leagues, then struggling in MLB, and just repeating the cycle over and over again. Normally, there's a major strikeout issue with these players. They're not making contact, they're striking out too much, and it shows. They eventually get cut, even though they got way too many opportunities because they were formerly a top prospect. Sometimes these players end up breaking out later into their careers and figuring it out, but most of the time, these 4A players don't get that lucky. I'm thinking of Brett Beatty and Bobby Dahlbeck. I was also thinking of Rusney Castillo, who got one of the biggest contracts in Red Sox history, but wasn't actually good enough to be an MLB player for some reason. So they kind of just made him rot away in AAA. That's a little different, but I still don't understand why the Red Sox signed that contract. Position left bench. These are just the pinch hitter gods, but they're pretty similar to the last player that I talked about. These players get just 1 or 2 at-bats every few games, and maybe they'll get a start here or there, but not really. They almost definitely can play more than one position, and a lot of the times it's at least 4 or 5. They're the utility guy on the team. They're also a fan favorite because when they do show up, they're gonna come through. It's just how it works with the left bench players. They're also always the vibe guy on the team, and if they weren't there, the rest of the team would also get worse due to them not being in the clubhouse. This guy is the best. I don't really know who I'm thinking of with this archetype, but let me know who you think it would be. There's a lot of players like this that just get benched and then will come in every once in a while. I'm a Red Sox fan, so I think of Romy Gonzalez personally, but I don't think that that's the best example for this. Let me know who you would say instead. The one-sided mashers. This guy is the single most confusing type of hitter in the entire league. They manage to absolutely destroy one type of pitcher, either a lefty or a righty. However, they are bad enough against the other side to not even get starts against them. This player just makes my brain melt. How can you just hit one side of the plate and not the other? You're literally doing the same thing. It's the same motion, it's the same swing. I just don't get it. This can kind of also apply for a switch hitter that is only good as a left-handed hitter or a right-handed hitter. Cedric Mullins, for example, was a switch hitter early in his career, but he was so bad at hitting right-handed that eventually he just dropped switch hitting and now he's only a left-handed hitter. But the guys that I think of when I think of the one-sided mashers, for a lefty, it's Jock Peterson, who is an all-star versus right-handed pitching, and Rob Refschneider, who is one of the best players in baseball against left-handed pitching, but he doesn't get starts because he can't hit right-handed pitching. It's super weird, I don't get the one-sided masher. The Glass Man. This is the player that would be so unbelievably good if he was able to stay healthy. However, you know going into the season that he's not gonna be able to. There is someone that gets injured every time they touch the field, and normally the injuries aren't even a consistent thing. It'll be the foot, then it'll be his leg, then it'll be his shoulder, then it'll be a concussion, then it'll be his foot again. Who knows? It's never gonna be the same thing though. Of course, these guys are the biggest what ifs in MLB history, and weirdly, these guys are normally fast. I might be wrong about that, but I feel like whenever there's a what if player, it's someone that's kind of would be a 5-tool guy if they didn't get injured so much. Of course, I'm thinking of the Mike Trouts, and someone like Byron Buxton, who could be elite and is a very good player right now, but if he didn't have so many injuries throughout his career, he would probably be one of the best players in baseball. Let me know if you think of any other types of players. I thought that this would be a little fun video to make. Let me know what you thought about it.